All right. So, hi everyone. We have Akshay Goel with us today. He's a product leader at Meta. Before Meta, he was actually a founder of an AI startup before AI became a big deal and sold it to Standard. So, we are incredibly fortunate to have him today and to give us some insights on application of AI in product management.
Awesome.
So,
Nice.
welcome, Akshay.
Thank you, Karthik. How's it going?
It's going good. So good to have you. I think AI is the flavor of the day for sure. We just went through the whole Sam Altman drama in the open AI. But the reality is like, I think AI is like revolutionizing all industries. And specifically in this podcast, we want to talk about how, I guess, AI has to be applied for how product managers have to think about AI and how to apply AI in their work and how AI is going to change the future. So it's quite a few different questions to talk about. But first, let just tell me about your story.
Sounds good. I am currently at Meta, like Karthik mentioned. I'm supporting new monetization experiences, particularly on WhatsApp. Prior to that, I supported a lot of messaging experiences, which also included AI, for instance, search or sharing, and others. And prior to that, I was the AI PM lead for ads at Meta. So even at Meta, like through my journey, I've seen how AI is being used in different use cases. And as Karthik mentioned, before Meta, I started a startup in the autonomous driving space that got acquired by Standard. Standard was also using AI for in the retail space to develop autonomous checkout. Uh, it's been like a few years for me through various applications in self-driving cars and retail, in ads, and most recently like in monetization as well. So uh, happy to chat about it.
Awesome. It's amazing that you have such a varied experience. One on the startup side, founding a company, and then now working for one of the largest companies who's basically revolutionizing the field of AI. So I'm sure you have a lot of insights to share. So the first question I would say is like, you know, basically like how do you perceive the role of AI in the modern product management? Like, what's the role of AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a PM, you're really focused on ensuring that your team is building what people want, you know. And so at the core of it, I would break it out into two things. Like, one is making sure you're building the right products and using the latest technologies to serve them well. So AI can be utilized in your product itself. And then second is even as a PM, you can like improve your own productivity with AI and maybe even do a better job with the more recent trends in generative AI. I think both are important. Obviously, your core job is still to build the right product, and it's not about the tools that you use. Uh, so, as long as you're like following your core, like product thinking and processes, you'll probably like hit the right product out there.
That makes sense. Um, so can you share like a specific example of like AI making significant impact in product development, either at Meta or outside, where you've seen, give us some examples where it has made like significant impact.
So, just to be sure, you're thinking about like how AI is used in day to day life as a PM or more into the products itself.
I would say more as a PM itself, like how can you leverage basically like AI to like make your job better or make your product better as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there are a few things, right? Like, one, as you're going through any product development cycle, you have the typical phases of understanding the audience, understanding the problem, identifying a solution, and then like executing upon it. So even as a PM in your day-to-day life, there are several like jobs that you do. So for instance, in the understand space, you might be trying to like define who the user personas are, and then identify the problems they have. And some of this includes like reading a ton of data, talking to customers, reading like in a bigger company, like reading insights from users that you might have gotten through various kinds of user studies. So putting it all together takes time, and doing it well takes time. And AI, like especially with the latest tools in generative AI, I've already been like trying it out to, like, can I see 5 additional examples of personas? Can I put all this data into like well formatted user problems? Or can I like organize my ideas better, right? Like if I've created a bullet list of 20 ideas, can I just quickly ask ChatGPT, if you will, to organize my ideas better? And not that you can't do it without AI. In fact, AI, like generative AI, may not be good enough, but it might actually like at least, like speed you up in your, like in your journey by creating a few examples. So uh, I think the way I would look at it is, as a PM, you're often going through that typical fishbone structure, like going wide and then narrowing down. And generative AI may not help you to like narrow down to the final point, but it might speed up your journey through the fishbone, right? Like it might add a few more examples going wide and then help you structure yourself to go narrow. And a good PM would just be like, okay, I can do it myself. But I think like uh, using tools will just help you do it faster and while maintaining your quality. So
That makes sense. Actually, now that you mentioned, I'm pretty sure you're trying out various products who are trying to, inject AI into the workflow itself. Have you seen any examples of some products, either in the consumer space or in B2B space, who are doing a really good job of, applying AI to, make the whole product experience better?
you mean PM experience better, right?
Or just a product experience for the users?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna take a couple examples as a PM. Like obviously at Meta, we utilize a lot of internal tools, so I'm more exposed to internal tools than external tools. We have our own Llama based, like chat like tools, which can also allow us to chat with documents and chat with like workplace links. Workplaces are internal, like like social tool, if you will. So uh, I've been like using it to, like sometimes structure my thoughts in my doc a little better, or if there's a long doc, just summarize it. uh, in Meta, we also have like many PMs tend to write weekly updates, and I think it's a good practice for most PMs to just write a weekly update on their product. So oftentimes, as I'm crowdsourcing the updates from my team in bullets, I just use again like our internal chat with docs to summarize it, because it cleans up all my raw bullets into like clean format ready to post. I think ChatGPT does a good job with this. Obviously, we at Meta are not supposed to use it anymore, but we can use the internal versions of it. uh, I've not yet tried, like your tool product roadmap, but I will give it a shot. Outside of these, I think I'll have to like think through. Like I've not actually used a lot of external, like AI powered tools. Like I mean, I wouldn't say AI powered tool, like generative AI powered tools.
Yeah. That makes sense. Actually, there's one other question which just occurred to me. It's like, so you were building Explorer, right, which you sold to Standard. If you had that technologies you have today, if you had access to them, would the company building be any different? Like the product you would have built would be any different?
Yeah, so I mean, my wife Shruti is also building a startup right now, and just seeing how she is able to move faster on certain elements compared to what I was able to do in Explorer, I can definitely say there are a lot of areas where you can move a lot faster. So, as a startup, you're often like resource staff. You may not have a content designer, or you may not have a, like someone to write your micro copy,
Mm-hmm.
or you may not have like someone to even design your logo, and maybe someone to reformat the look and feel of your website. And I've been seeing like Shruti do that using AI. Like even her recent enterprise contracts, or job, or like recent employee handbook, because that's required for like a SOC 2 compliance. I saw that she was able to like move like much faster just using generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like if it would have taken me like an hour to do certain things, she's able to do it in like 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Obviously still needs like like human touch to get it perfectly right, but I do think like founders today, if they use the right tools, can move a lot faster. I'll give one specific example as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
for her initial demos before she had decided to go full time, she actually just like initially wrote up something, because she can code, like wrote up
Mm-hmm.
something with hands, and then asked like chat gpt to like create a better ui. Like she just gave it the entire code base and create a better ui, and it reformatted a lot of the look and feel, and the final like ui for the demo looked a lot better, right? And in explorer days, like we were in the world of self-driving car, like particularly in mapping. But even in mapping, like while our core business was like to build better maps using
Mm-hmm.
like ai and slam technologies, we did have to create a website, we did have to create contracts, we did have to like even create up sign up flows. And I think like for all of those, rather than hiring experts, I would have just like relied on like uh, tools like chat gpt if I could.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, the whole game is definitely changing quite a bit with generative AI.
What
So which
about you?
comes
Are you guys seeing that in your company too?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think one of the core, I would say, product updates we have made in the recent months is automate a lot of the functions. That's when the product roadmap at AI was born. It's like we felt like all the existing tools in the market have been workflow tools or project management tools. They don't actually help you do the work. They help you like house the work and house the workflows. But what we are seeing with AI is like actually help you automate the work, like automate insights analysis or automate your PRD generation, automate your status updates to your teammates. Like a lot of the monotonous work, which PMs put in for like I think we could reduce like almost 50% of the time focused on this monotonous work and actually think about the product. So yeah, it's been pretty exciting, I would say. Which comes to my next question. So, basically, like since um, it seems like AI can automate a ton of the work. For example, you just talked about how it's easier to generate your email updates to your stakeholders, or generate a PowerPoint, or automatically summarize all the insights and things like that. So, how do you think the role itself of a PM will evolve with this advancement in AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think uh, the role of PM is obviously not very standard through our industry, but I think one thing that's clearly common is PMs are the connective tissue amongst the various like functions, like across the company. And through that connective tissue, they need to make sure that the company is building the right product, right? So oftentimes they say that hey, the success of a product depend is on the team, but a failure of a product is on the PM. And I think uh I think that's somewhat true, and it actually like says that, hey, if the PM does not understand what the customer need, and uh, whether like that insight is actually coming from other functions or not, it doesn't really matter. Like if the
Hmm.
PM does not understand it and does not ensure that the team is building the right thing, the product is like pretty doomed for failure. uh,
Yeah.
but through this process, like you mentioned, PMs are doing a lot of monotonous work, whether it's writing roadmaps, updates, various things, right? And a lot of that is, I think, more automatable via AI, if not at 100%, at least like to 60 70%. And if we can give PMs some time back, they will be able to like focus more on making sure their product is heading the right direction. uh, and I think like more than anything, like I'm hoping that more products succeed because of that, right? Like when you go back to that saying that PM is like a connective tissue within the team, oftentimes PMs are not able to focus on the relationships as well. Like they are
Hmm.
focused a lot on just process and monotonous things to ensure that the team has clarity. But if we can give PMs time back and they can spend time on building the relationships, understanding, like the customer, ensuring that the team is like thriving and feeling excited rather than, like feeling like burden in process. I think like generally you'll see more product successful. So yeah, I think TLDR is removing all the monotonous
All the
work. And
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
100%. It makes sense. Cool. So that comes to the next question, is basically like, so what are some of the emerging trends? Like, let's talking about the future. Like, what do you see some of the emerging trends which are most exciting for the future of, product management in general?
I mean, I don't know if I'm the right person to think about trends in AI, but I think like generally with larger models that are more like uh, multimodal, not just on text, like even can take like visual and log data and other kinds of like
Hmm.
sources as input. I think we will be able to better like get more relevant output from the generative AI. So for instance, uh, not everyone thinks in bullet points, right? And not everyone thinks visually. So one part of a job of a PM is to also make sure they can translate information to every communication medium, right? Like
Hmm.
for people who read and think differently. And I think with generative AI becoming more like multimodal, it will make that a lot easier. So that's, I think, the most important emerging trend to me.
That makes sense. Actually, I have one more question on this topic because it's very relevant to the to your work. It's like, what are your thoughts of commercial models like the GPT and the Vertex for Google, and then Anthropic and so on, versus like open source models like Llama and Falcon? Like, how do you see those two evolve? Can they coexist, or it's going to be a winner? Like, how do you see that evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I think like eventually to make a solid product, you need a very high quality, like reliable and performant system, whether it is AI powered or not. And that would also mean you create more tailored models, right? And I know both commercial models and open source are providing that flexibility now, right? Like with open source, you can literally fine tune or rewrite the model if you want. And then with commercial, they are providing like better fine tuning mechanisms on top of it.
Hmm.
So I think they both are going to be like relevant, but depending on the stage of the company, you will need more uh, levels of fine tuning, and that would also mean like a more mature product. Even if it's smaller company, it probably needs better fine tuning, more performance, etc., which from what I can see is more easily available through open source rather than
Hmm.
commercial models. But in order to get started, I think commercially available models are a lot easier, so I think the way I imagine this to go is uh, a number of companies will start in the commercially available model space and then eventually switch over to open source when their product is ready. But then obviously, like the companies like Anthropic and OpenAI are not waiting, and they will like find more and more ways to keep retain their customers, right, or their enterprise customers. So you never know how that switches. But right now I think everyone will just like all early companies will start with commercially available models and then switch over, and
Hmm.
then later stage companies will just prefer open source models.
Yeah, that's very insightful. That's something definitely to keep in mind. Awesome. So I think the last question for today is like, do you have any advice you want to share for PMs looking to advance their career, specifically in AI product management or even application of AI? Like, obviously you've been through quite a bit in your career. You founded a company. You've worked for, various companies, including Meta, and you've seen like how the product management has evolved. So, what advice would you have for, PMs?
Yeah, I actually think AI is going to be everywhere and in all products, even in hardware products, not just software products. Like I was trying the recent Ray-Bans with Meta partnership, and I found the AI in it pretty impressive. So I actually think like all PMs should find a way to like work on projects that have some AI sooner rather than later. The second thing is not to be scared about AI, right? Like it sounds difficult and like researchy, but in reality, like as a PM, your job is not to like invent AI. Your job is really to like understand the user problem and make sure we are applying it correctly. And with AI, the main difference I see is like the tolerances, right? Like accuracy may be lower than a deterministic model in certain use cases. You may not find it as reliable as a deterministic model. So you need to like tailor your experiences, but also like uh, like you'll have a lot more power with AI to like tackle wider range of problems. So knowing when to use AI and when not to is useful. uh, and second, I think like don't be scared of it. Like you're not the researcher. In fact, very few researchers are really dealing with the hardcore problems of AI. Most other people are just using libraries, and it's not as hard as it sounds. So as a PM, you're quite away from the difficult parts. You should just get into it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for the advice. Yeah, so once again, thank you so much for being on the show and giving your insights specifically on the application of AI. Yeah, I mean, love to stay in touch, and if your users have more any questions, definitely send it over to you. But thanks again for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Akshay. Bye.